awesome. But welcome to our next installment of our Coffee Talk. I am Sarah Tucker with IP Pathways. If you don't know me already, I am what's my title? Regional Sales Director for our Kansas and our Nebraska offices. So I'm in the regional side. But excited to have you all here. I've got two speakers with us today. Joe Shields, who most of you likely know. He is our founder and president of our company. And then John Stress, who is with NetApp. And I think they've got a couple of funny stories to share about kind of how they met and how our journeys have collided. But a quick note for those of you who are brand new to IP Pathways, we are a total IT solution provider. We are helping companies architect and implement data center infrastructure, whether that be in your cloud or our cloud or hybrid cloud. We've got lots of options. So if you're starting to explore some different approaches to data center technology, that is what we are here to help you with. We've got a whole crew of team members on the line today, and we can definitely connect you with the appropriate account manager and solution architect if you've got some deeper questions and you want to learn more about what we do, why we do it, and how we do it. We'd love to talk about it. So we'd love to have some one-on-ones if you've got questions. Just a quick commercial, right? Totally necessary. But with that said, let's get started. I know John and Joe have some, like I said, some stories to share about kind of how they met. So Joe, can you kick us off and help us understand the tie between you two?
Yeah, John, who, if you folks don't know, is the pre-sales architect engineer. I guess I don't know what title exactly, but he helps design net solutions from a technical perspective. NetApp over the years, I think, had many roles out of fact. But I met John one day when he was panhandling off the interstate, and I said, "Wow, anyone can really design these NetApp things. I could probably do a job there." No, it's not true at all. So that's John and I actually worked together. God, I met John 21 years ago or so. We were both on the engineering team at Wells Fargo, and we were a lot younger there, a little more hair. I think John looked about the same. We have a few more pounds and a few more wrinkles, but it was great to get to know John. And John left shortly after I joined the team there, and he pursued a career with another storage company that is now owned by Dell, doing very similar things to what he's done. So John's had a great, I'm sort of, I guess I'm telling you your story. I don't know what you're going to say. But, John and I, John's been doing storage for a long time. But honestly, that's when I started with NetApp. At Wells Fargo, we implemented FAS filers all over the nation as a replacement for Windows for file servers and some of the technologies there. What I found was NetApp was really a great solution, and I continued to use the NetApp as a tool for organizations that I was in, Wells Fargo and beyond. And John and I actually, we kind of always kept in touch. We John was with a different storage company, and he tried to use some of their stuff a couple times, but I didn't. But it was really sort of fortuitous. I started IP Pathways in the fall, actually November of 2007, and I think John did NetApp 1 week before we started, maybe two, the company. And so it was really good. So he started right as we were building the practice. And actually, NetApp was back in the day, they didn't leave in offices and remote work connected. Not actually office out of the IP Pathways office for a little while when we first did. It was way smaller and way less cool. I think we had one of the first Keurigs though, so that was pretty cool. We had coffee. I think John enjoyed that, but
yeah, I always showed up at coffee time.
Yeah, right. But we've been fortunate enough to work together now. Another 13 years. So I suppose John and I have been together 21 years now, and he's a great resource and been in NetApp now 14 years. Yeah, John?
Correct, 13 years. Basically, it was right around my first week at NetApp was an Insight event, but at that time, our Insight event was internal only, and it was out in LA. And so my 13 years came up 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. So the nice thing is we've had a lot of support from John over the years. He's been a rock when it comes to NetApp resource, and honestly, NetApp was one of our first 3 partners. So we onboarded Microsoft because I didn't want to actually pay for licensure internal use, so we got the partner stuff. Sort of a devil's advocate. Had to do it, and then we partnered Dell because we had server stuff we needed. But NetApp was first real partner, and honestly, it was our first large-scale capital storage transaction. So we did a $1 million transaction inside the first 90 days. They've been a fantastic partner, and it was one of the things we knew we wanted.
I'm going to pop in. Your internet is super laggy. I was worried it was just me, but I've got a couple messages from other people. I don't know how easy it would be for you to flip to audio on your phone instead of your laptop, or what would be best. Obviously, you can problem solve that. But FYI, we can only hear about.
Help too, Joe.
Oh, sure. We can hear you mostly, but it's a little hard. So just wanted to give you that quick note. But that's a fun intro, and funny that we were joking when we were chatting last week about this call. About how IP Pathways started about the same time that John started at NetApp, and so we've really had a long history together of partnering, which is pretty fun. So John, let's kind of kick this off while Joe's working on audio stuff and talk a little bit more about what's going on with NetApp. Again, as a setup for the audience, we really want this to be kind of a fun discussion between these two guys, talking about the history and talking about how IP Pathways partners with NetApp and why that really matters and why that is relevant for our customers. But as we're going through this, we'd also love your questions. So if you have some for either John or Joe or both, feel free to pop those in the chat. You can send those directly to Abby or to all, but Abby's going to keep a good eye on it as we're talking. So John, while Joe's finishing up audio troubleshooting, talk to us a little bit about what's going on with NetApp and kind of what's new and innovative with the company. Help us understand what you guys are doing.
Sure. Thanks, Sarah. One thing I would like, so real quick on my introduction, I won't take long, but to feed off of Joe's story about our relationship early on, I just wanted to comment that I'll never forget, I worked at Wells Fargo for, I think a year and a half, and I'll never forget the first day that Joe came on board, and it was refreshing on all the ideas he brought to the team. And as Joe mentioned, he was very, outspoken towards NetApp and NetApp's technology. Well, at that time, I knew that I was on the road out. I was hired by, I moved over from the customer side to the vendor side. I did go to work for EMC for 7 years. And it's interesting, at the end of each calendar year while I was at EMC, we would have an event similar to NetApp's Insight event. And there was a portion of the event that was always based on competition. And every single year, the number one competitor that EMC would talk about is NetApp. And it finally, the light went off on, Joe's excitement about NetApp when he shared that with us at Wells Fargo. And it's actually funny because sitting through the competitive sessions while I was at EMC actually encouraged me outside of what just the whole culture of NetApp was very intriguing. So 7 years later, after I joined EMC, I made the move over to NetApp, and started working with my very first partner that I had relationships with was IP Pathways. So I just wanted to put that plug in. So thanks, Joe. What's new and innovative at NetApp? Well, we're continuously building out our data fabric environment. Basically, the data fabric, it's an architecture and a set of data services that provide consistent capabilities across a choice of endpoints spanning on-prem and cloud service providers like IP Pathways. We're continuously providing data management, data protection, security enhancements with the data fabric to provide customers, that easy transition for a data transformation move into a similar situation like a next generation data center, whether it's on-prem or hybrid or in the cloud. Our main focus is growing the data fabric and allowing customers to utilize the data fabric to enhance their services out to their business from a technology perspective. And today the focus is on data protection. We had quite a few announcements with our data protection solutions within the data fabric at our Insight event. And a couple of them being, we've added S3 capabilities within ONTAP, which is really enhances a data protection solution from NetApp, working with cloud service providers like IP Pathways. There's a couple other topics that we'll get into as far as feature sets regarding data protection. But again, our key focus from NetApp is we truly embrace the cloud. Several years back, when storage providers, were sitting in that kind of flux period of how are we going to migrate as a company to provide capabilities for customers not only on-prem, but the net new hybrid architecture, and now a full-blown cloud architecture that customers are moving to.
John, I forgot how to unmute myself. No, that's really interesting. And I know we've gotten a lot of questions already from our NetApp customers about the ONTAP kind of upgrades. So I think we'll enjoy digging in more to those later in this chat. Joe, will you share a little bit more about why IP Pathways and NetApp work so well together and kind of maybe tell that regional cloud story? I think that's really interesting.
I mean, and hopefully this is better. Thumbs up. Are you hearing me better now? Great. Okay. So, when we started with NetApp, the goal was, quite frankly, to not just become a NetApp reseller, but be a highly technical resource for our joint customers. And as probably a lot of people know, we have a pretty deep bench and a lot of capability when it comes to professional services around NetApp. It's my NCIE has long since expired, but we have a lot of folks that still carry a lot of technical capability, including Sean Lair, our VP of Engineering, who still helps write certification exams for NetApp. So when we started looking at what services are important to us to bring to our market other than our NetApp services on premise, when we started down the path of our own cloud product development. When we acquired our data center in 2014 and started building out our data center and cloud strategy, the thing that came to mind was, quite frankly, just our capability built around NetApp technologies and data protection. We had a lot of customers that really wanted to leverage a service provider for disaster recovery, offsite data replication. So leveraging SnapMirror and the capabilities around snapshot technologies in NetApp and SnapMirror was a native thing. So the first thing we rolled out was storage as a service built on NetApp technologies. But that was just the entry point. Quite frankly, if you look at the storage technologies we have now in the data center for our 27 different cloud technologies that we have in the data center today, a lot of which are our own intellectual property, we've built all of them around NetApp storage. So whether it's our adaptive cloud services, Even our virtual firewalls sit on top of NetApp storage. We even use other manufacturers' competitive backup products, but it's all back-ended on storage sitting on NetApp. And quite frankly, it was a logical decision for us because we wanted to, have beyond the capability of the platforms that we have, our backup platforms, our cloud platforms, even our security platforms. We wanted to have something back-ended that gave us operational protection and quite frankly, help lower the price of a lot of our services offerings. NetApp's deduplication technology and really thin provisioning technology, just storage efficiency in general, is better than anything. And people ask, it was easy to say that when we read off a marketing slick over the years when we weren't buying it, but guys, we have millions and millions of dollars with the NetApp equipment that came, the checks came out of the Bank of Joe Shield. We really believe not just that it's a good product, for our customers, but it's a good product for us, and it underpins, all of our cloud services offerings in both our data center locations. And we're really excited because there's new stuff coming out of the time. As we push the boundaries on what we're doing and changing, our sort of our model in developing cloud strategies and developing our own cloud products and developing our own security products. We're keeping lockstep with NetApp. So as John indicated, our S3 technologies, we've had a couple different S3 technologies in-house. We have our own S3 platform, but having native S3 on NetApp ONTAP is a fantastic extension of the services we're going to be able to offer. So we're going to be exposing object stores inside of the Adaptive Cloud Platform very soon. We already have the capability to expose SMB or CIS shares and NFS volumes to our Adaptive Cloud Platform. But having an object store built on ONTAP is going to be fantastic as well. So I see nothing but great things as we continue around our strategy of developing cloud services for our customers and partnering with NetApp lockstep the whole way.
Great. John, let's expand on that just a little bit as Joe kind of introduced the concept of how NetApp and IP Pathways Cloud really works well together. Can you kind of dive into that from the DR scenario? I know that's one of the things we want to make sure we cover. We get a lot of questions about why does DR sound so much simpler when our team talks about it. So can you walk us through kind of how that works?
Yeah, sure. So with the DR capabilities with NetApp and utilizing our SnapMirror product, the flexibility and the ease of recovery, one of the examples is we just released a net new feature within ONTAP 9.8, and it's NetApp SnapMirror Business Continuity feature. One of the benefits is you can now prioritize your SAN replication workloads, which in the past it was just purely based off of scheduling. So the ability to prioritize and to then pick your the Delta files and which target that they land at is one of the net new features that we're providing from a SnapMirror perspective, basically focusing on high-end workloads in a SAN environment. From a recovery capability, it's just the ability to, number one is just to perform a resync back to your production volumes very quick and consistent. Data integrity is built in, but just the ease of setting up schedules. And we've had a long, I think, success rate with IP Pathways and their ability to provide, disaster recovery solutions utilizing ONTAP. And, it's been a great success story. Joe, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that is very relevant now, and quite frankly, Dave Hitz, the founder of NetApp, had a lot of vision when he developed the snapshot technologies with ONTAP. But one of the things we're seeing across many industries, and the healthcare industry specifically, is we're seeing a lot of ransomware. And if you don't know how ransomware works, what happens is it tries to take an account, and preferably a privilege account, and start to propagate generally encrypting files, not just on the local machine, but any file can get its hands on, so that, you know, the file services, things like that, leveraging privileged accounts to encrypt server virtual machines or server file systems. Well, the cool thing about what we're seeing is we've had several healthcare organizations that fell victim to ransomware, so, you know, crypto locker vulnerabilities, things like that. And we have been able to recover them in minutes. And the reason for that is the snapshot technology that exists on NetApp. So we recover their production environment. We had a couple that when forensics by third party were done and they found the attack vector, that they honestly missed where the intrusion point was, and they fell victim very shortly after they recovered. So one of the great things that we're seeing, one, people take this for granted sometimes, but when NetApp replicates their technology from a local NetApp filer to a disaster recovery service or a secondary filer, the nice thing about it is that snapshot history that you've maintained, those point in time, you know, snapshots come with it. So we've been able to do some really cool stuff from a DR perspective when people fell victim to those ransomware attacks, by actually restoring the infrastructure inside the disaster recovery envelope in our data centers, and then allowing forensics to occur in a bubble, so that then we didn't fall victim to having repeat attacks or missing the attack vector entirely for ransomware. So it's just, you know, it's one use case we're seeing today. You know, this technology's been around, SnapMirror, snapshot technology has been around a long time, but I think one of the things we take advantage, there's a lot of competitive products to the NetApp service that don't take historical content with them from a disaster recovery. They're simply a mirror, a production environment, and having that historical context, especially in a world of, you know, full of, you know, especially, you know, cyber issues with storage and data, it's really an important thing and very relevant today. And it's a great feature that NetApp has and that IP Pathways leverages as part of the disaster recovery services.
It's a very common question that we get out in the field from customers. You know, how does this work? Why do I keep hearing that IP Pathways and NetApp can do DR so much easier? John, can you share a little bit? I know we touched on it, but can you share a little bit more about the Insight Conference and kind of what announcements were made and what new stuff is coming out that would be relevant to our NetApp customers?
Sure, Sarah. We had a great event at the end of October for our 2020. This year it was virtual. It's still not the same as being on site in Vegas, but you know, it's better than not having the event at all. Definitely miss seeing everybody out in Vegas this year. Couple of the key things when we're talking about data protection that was announced at Insight with our ONTAP 9.8 release is one of the new technologies, or not new technology, but an enhancement, is our flex caching capabilities. We announced that we are now supporting SMB for flex caching. And one of the cool new features that you can utilize in a data protection scenario utilizing flex cache is you can now actually create a flex cache volume off of a secondary SnapMirror. So from a replication perspective, from production to DR, and if you want to utilize a caching feature for whether it's a remote office, back office type user, but we now provide the ability that you can actually cache off of a secondary mirror to provide that capability, which is an added enhancement for SnapMirror and for flex caching. I mentioned the business continuity feature. That was a really key announcement this year at Insight. Another one is the ability to provide a SnapMirror to cloud via an S3. So basically, an overview of that capability is that we can actually utilize ONTAP snapshots and then initiate a SnapMirror replication to an S3 target. So on-prem, you could utilize our storage grid solution, or another alternative option is utilizing a cloud service provider with their S3 solution for this feature. But that's something that we've had the capabilities within Fabric pools to what we deem as data tiering on production data. But now we've actually taken one of the features out of Fabric pools where we can copy data from ONTAP to an S3 target. Is now we can initiate a SnapMirror job and replicate that data to an S3 target as well, which provides a lot more flexibility as far as utilizing a lower end, lower cost S3 solution as the target. Another big enhancement that we announced at Insight is file analytics. So if you're looking at providing any file analytics within the environment, it did go GA in 9.8. We're starting off with a very basic feature set with file analytics, but the plan is to grow out that capability down the road. There's a lot of demand from customers on file analytics, whether it's based off of security or utilizing an internal audit solution for your environment. We provided enhancements with Fabric pools. Fabric pools is our data tiering solution for production data out to either a snapshot or an S3 target. Flex groups, there was some added features from a flex group perspective. Basically, flex groups is creating a multiple volume. So if you have, let's say you have a large repository for an application that you would like to span the ability to utilize or to gain better performance on a very large repository of data, we can actually create a volume that actually spans multiple nodes within the cluster within ONTAP. So it spreads the workload out over multiple nodes within the cluster, but it's still the metadata that's used for the volume. It actually spans the other nodes as well. So it looks like one large volume that's split across multiple nodes within the entire cluster. So there's performance benefits there, and that's technology that's really been ramping up for NetApp. Storage efficiency enhancements. We've ramped up the performance on efficiencies. A cool change within our efficiency set was we're now utilizing or running deduplication prior to compression, and that was released in 9.8, and it does provide a performance enhancement utilizing NetApp storage efficiencies. Again, this is just a high-level overview. There's a lot of features within these product sets that I'm not speaking about, but you can go out to netapp.com to get a full overview of all of these capabilities. REST API, we're always enhancing our REST API capabilities and features for customers to be able to, to automate, whether it's utilizing Ansible or whatever type of automation tool that you want to use. We're really broadening the capabilities to utilize REST APIs to manage your storage environments. From a security perspective, we announced several enhancements within ONTAP from a security perspective, and Metro Cluster as well. Metro Cluster is our solution that provides zero RPO and zero RTO. We expanded the capability to utilize Metro Cluster IP across a broader platform within our FAS and all-flash product line. And we also released a net new all-flash FAS and FAS product line at Insight. And those will be supported with ONTAP 9.8 and beyond. I think I covered, there's a lot more to go over from an Insight announcement perspective. Again, if you would like, I can send a direct link out to all of our presentations that were provided during the Insight event. So if you'd like to send me an email, I can send that link out. And my email address is Streff, my last name, STREFF @netapp.com. And I can send out links to every single session / presentation that was provided during the Insight event.
Thanks for that offer, John. That's really helpful. I'd also add that account managers at IP Pathways are gearing up kind of a highlights of Insight summary. So if you are a NetApp customer today, or if you're even considering taking a deeper look at NetApp, certainly reach out to your account manager, because they've got some a good list and summary of what was announced, especially when it comes to the code upgrade, to make sure that you're fully informed of the new things your machine can do for you. Joe, I did get a question for you. Somebody asked if you could share an example of how we are offering DR in our cloud to somebody that has NetApp on premise.
Yeah, I mean, we have lots and lots and lots of customers. We had a pretty good customer that had been a NetApp customer for a lot of years last year, but had struggled with doing disaster recovery themselves. It was a large state agency in Iowa. And they had NetApp technology in their data center for, gosh, almost 10 years. And they really struggled with disaster recovery. They had a second filer that was aging. They had old blade infrastructure, all sorts of problems, and they were never able to actually perform a full disaster recovery test. And so we engaged with them in 2019, and through a lot of stuff, we're able to leverage NetApp technology on premise with our DR storage service built on NetApp, as well as our DR cloud compute, and quite frankly, our network capability associated with our regional networks, to put together a solution that included NetApp, VMware, VMware Horizon, a bunch of their some co-location services for security services around some of their Cisco gear and some other stuff. And they performed the very first full DR test they've been able to perform ever for that agency. So it was a really big win. They were really happy with it. It was really great. They're a very, very large VMware Horizon shop, so thousands of virtual machines providing virtual desktops. So there was a lot of complexity to it. So it was the combination of our services, NetApp, and the native capability they had, and then, quite frankly, a lot of professional services to get them in a situation now that they have annual capability to perform disaster recovery tests. So that's just one of many use cases. We have lots of hospitals and small companies. I mean, our smallest NetApp shop probably only replicates about 4 terabytes to us for DR compute, and they really pick core applications, but they perform a test annually. Lots of healthcare organizations. We've had a lot of luck for performing, providing DR services built on NetApp technologies. It's far easier when we see contracts come in, or when the team sees things and the sales team engages, and the NetApp, the customer has NetApp, and we're leveraging NetApp storage service as part of the DR. Our services engineers always are way happy with that. When they see other technologies, not that there's anything wrong with them, they're usually more complex and more difficult to engage in a disaster recovery testing annually. So they're always very happy to see NetApp as part of that strategy.
Really, it's part of the easy button for us when it comes to kind of architecting and making sure the solution works. We've got about 5 minutes left. We had scheduled this to 9:15. We want to respect everyone's time. Joe, I've got kind of one final question for you, and that is, what do you see as the future of the partnership between IP Pathways and NetApp? And we'll let you kind of close this out.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, I just want everyone to look at the frozen video on John Strauss, because it's been disturbing me for like the last 20 minutes. So thanks, John, for that. But from there, I think we're gonna really partner very well with NetApp. I see us in no way ever changing our backend storage platform. So all of our technologies are going to be built on top of NetApp technologies. We're going to really, match what NetApp has available from a regional cloud provider perspective. So whether that's rolling out S3 or as they continue to acquire technologies. Last year, NetApp acquired a company called CloudJumper, and we're evaluating how we can leverage CloudJumper to help with some of the services in our data center and other cloud strategies. They've got some other great technologies that they're building and looking at. So we're gonna stay with them, and we're gonna go with them on their journey into providing cloud services for our joint customers. We're going to continue to develop strategies leveraging NetApp. I think one of the biggest ones right now, we're automating provisioning of storage virtual machines in our adaptive cloud platform, so that the customers can self-provision, basically cloud storage natively on NetApp. So whether that's SIFs or NFS or S3 buckets or anything, we're leveraging the native API capabilities to provide self-provisioning inside of our adaptive cloud platform. So lots of great stuff, lots of great future with NetApp and IP Pathways, and we're looking at doing some really interesting creative things with NetApp.
Am I still frozen?
Oh, you're moving now.
We're good.
All right, John. I love it. Joe and John, I appreciate both of your time so much this morning. We look forward to hosting more of these coffee talks in the future. If you have topic ideas of things you're interested in, please feel free to pop us a note. We're going to continue to create this content, as it looks like we're going to, not be able to meet in person as closely for a little bit longer. So we want to make sure we provide some virtual education events for you while we weather this storm. So thanks again so much for joining us. Please reach out to your account manager if you've got more questions, and we look forward to seeing you all again soon. Have a great day.